Introduction. The YouTube live stream uploaded April 20th, 2026 on LiquidZulu's channel, 3 hours long with 10,000 views at the time of this analysis, is a one-on-one debate titled Debating Haz Al Din on Socialism versus Capitalism. LiquidZulu, an anarcho-capitalist objectivist-leaning debater influenced by Ayn Rand, Hoppe-style argumentation ethics, and Austrian economics, hosts and argues against communism-socialism. His opponent is Haz Al Din, aka InfraHaz, chairman of the American Communist Party, a dialectical materialist Marxist-Leninist. The debate was prompted by Jake Shields' public challenge seeking someone willing to defend capitalism against Haz. Many apparently declined. It quickly pivots from broad socialism versus capitalism comparisons into deep philosophy, materialism versus idealism, free will versus determinism, historical necessity, dialectics, and whether individual choices or alternatives are possible under Marxist frameworks. Economic issues like calculation problems or historical outcomes get less airtime than expected. The core clash becomes epistemological and metaphysical. Format and flow. Informal live stream, no strict moderator or time rounds. Starts with setup tech issues, then LiquidZulu presses Haz on communism's moral practical justifications. Heavy focus on determinism. Does material conditions society determine thoughts and beliefs, or can thoughts cause action, societal change? Can one choose to believe differently, e.g. could Zulu have become a communist already? Examples include trivial choices, Pepsi versus Coke, versus significant ideological ones. Haz frames freedoms as insight in necessity, a Hegelian Marxist compatibilist view. True freedom is understanding and aligning with the material historical laws, not sovereign individual will. LiquidZulu pushes for genuine libertarian free will, thoughts causing action, real alternatives existing. It drags into definitional loops, with LiquidZulu accusing evasion and Haz redefining terms, e.g. free act as commitment to thought practice alignment in historical significant context. Post-debate, LiquidZulu does a victory lap with the super chats. Haz has his own upload framing as LiquidZulu's crashing out. The discussion is dense, repetitive, and philosophical rather than policy-heavy. It reveals classic left debate patterns, one side emphasizing individual agency morality, the other, structural material conditions and historical dialectics. Good points from LiquidZulu. Capitalist objectivist side, pressing on consistency of determinism and agency. He repeatedly asked if under strict materialism dialectics, individuals have no real choice over beliefs or actions. Society thoughts are downstream of material conditions. This highlights a potential self-undermining aspect of Marxism. If everything is determined, why debate, persuade, or hold people morally accountable for false consciousness? If Haz concedes no free choice in the libertarian sense, it weakens calls for revolutionary action or moral critique of capitalism. LiquidZulu lands punches by forcing clarification on whether alternatives, e.g. becoming a communist, were ever genuinely possible for him. Focuses on human flourishing and morality. He ties capitalism to rational self-interest, voluntary exchange, and survival flourishing. Rand influence. Communism is framed as violating individual rights and incentives, leading to impracticality. Implicit nods to calculation problems, though not deeply explored. Demand for clear definitions, insisting on non-redefined choice and free will prevents goalpost moving. He uses simple analogies, Coke, Pepsi, to show everyday experience contradicts hard determinism. Preparation on epistemology, attacking the foundations. How do we know material conditions determine everything without circularity? Is a strong angle against dialectical materialism. These points are effective for exposing tensions in Marxist philosophy when confronted with individualist assumptions. They resonate with audiences valuing personal responsibility over structural fatalism. Bad points, weaknesses for LiquidZulu. Over-reliance on philosophy at expense of empiricists. The debate bogs down in free will loops for long stretches. He could have pivoted more to historical track records, Soviet famines, Venezuelan collapse, calculation problems, Mises, Hayek, innovation under markets via stagnation under planning. Viewers expecting a socialist versus capitalism economic showdown might feel shortchanged. Interruption and framing. Some audiences note he dominates talking time or interrupts, which can come across as aggressive rather than rigorous. Post-debate victory declaration risks seeming premature if the goal was persuasion. Limited engagement with Haz redefinitions. While he calls out evasion, he sometimes struggles to steelman or fully dismantle the capitalist freedom as necessity, allowing Haz to retreat into Marxist jargon, insight into necessity, historical significant acts. Narrow audience appeal. Strong for objectivist libertarian crowds, but less accessible to neutrals unfamiliar with Rand and Austrian thought. Good points from Haz Al Din, Marxist communist side. Dialectical materialism framework. He consistently grounds arguments in material conditions shaping ideas, base superstructure, with freedom as alignment with historical laws rather than abstract sovereignty. This is coherent within Marxist tradition, echoing Hegel, Engels, Marx on necessity. It avoids naive free will while allowing wiggle room via contradictions, randomness, or class struggle. Redefining freedom productively for his side. Freedom isn't libertarian choice, but insight into what must happen given material reality. Trivial choices exist but don't alter historical trajectories. Significant ones, revolutionary acts, reflect deeper necessities. This sidesteps crude hard deterministic critiques. Historical necessity angle. Communisms are resolving capitalist contradictions, e.g. crisis of overproduction, alienation. He ties morality to material practice, implies ought in context, rejecting abstract individualist ethics as idealist. Persistence in long form. He stays composed in a hostile format, reframing questions back to materialism without fully conceding. These are philosophically sophisticated and loyal to core Marx texts, appealing to those who see capitalism as inherently crisis-prone and history as directional. Bad points and weaknesses from Haz Al Din. Evasion and definitional shifts. Multiple sources and comments criticize him for redefining free will, choice, and freedom in ways that dodge direct answers, e.g. no free choice in beliefs, but somehow alternatives via material wiggle room. This can feel like sophistry or idiobabble to outsiders, looping back to its relational to conditions rather than resolving contradictions. Weak on practical outcomes, little robust defense of real-world socialist experiments, morality, authoritarianism, economic failures. If pressed on why past attempts failed, not real socialism, external sabotage, it risks sounding unfalsifiable. Inconsistency on agency. Claiming material conditions determine thought while engaging in persuasion debate creates tension. If individuals can't really choose ideology freely, moral condemnation of capitalists or calls to action lose force. Audience perceptions of him getting flustered or contradictory on trivial versus significant choices hurt clarity. Overemphasis on theory over evidence. Dialectics and necessity sound profound but can obscure falsifiability. Why hasn't the proletariat inevitably revolutionized in advanced capitalist societies as predicted? Historical materialism predictive power has been mixed at best. Critics, including LiquidZulu side, see this as a typical Marxist retreat into abstraction when confronted with individual experience or empirical failures. Overall assessment and who won. This is a classic philosophy-heavy ideology debate rather than a decisive policy clash. LiquidZulu won on points for most neutral or capitalist-leaning viewers, particularly enforcing clarity on free will, determinism, and exposing potential incoherence in applying strict materialism to moral political action. His persistent questioning pinned Haz into uncomfortable corners on alternatives and choice, making the Marxist position seem evasive or self-defeating in real time. Post-debate reactions from his audience heavily favor him. Worse loss for Haz. Zulu won within the first hour. He better define the initiative experience of agency that most people live by. Haz won from his own base by staying true to dialectical framing and avoiding easy concessions. He articulated sophisticated compatibilist Marxism without collapsing into vulgar determinism. However, he didn't convincingly bridge the gap to everyday choice or convincingly rebuke the agency critique, and the redefinitions alienated outsiders. My independent take, LiquidZulu had the stronger performance in the debate context, better at pinning inconsistencies and demanding non-circular answers. Free will remains a hard problem for any materialist worldview, including Marxism, and LiquidZulu exploited that effectively. That said, neither fully destroyed the other. The debate highlights its irreconcilable starting assumptions, individualist realism versus dialectical holism, empirically, capitalist track record on innovation, poverty reduction, and adaptability gives us a massive edge in a broader which system works better evaluation. Areas underexplored here. Philosophically, pure determinism struggles with accountability and creativity, while unchecked sovereign free will can ignore real constraints. If you're pro-capitalism, this feels validating. If pro-Marxist, it might seem like bad faith questioning of fundamentals. For truth-seeking, it usefully exposes why these worldviews talk past each other. One prioritizes the acting individual and the other unfolding material totality. Watch the full length, especially the middle hour on the alternatives, for the flavor. It's niche, but revealing of online left-right philosophical trench warfare. Thank you for listening, and see you in the next video.